I showed up at my sister's rehearsal dinner with a flash drive in my pocket. She laughed until I played the audio that ended her engagement and left. Everyone staring at me like I was never supposed to speak. That text came in at 6:42 a.m. No greeting, no explanation, just, "You're not invited to the wedding. Harper's family doesn't feel comfortable with you there." I stared at the screen for a solid minute. Then I read it again. And again. Not once did she say, "I'm sorry." Not even a "hope you understand." Just cold gray letters in a bubble I didn't ask for. I put down my coffee, still hot, and typed the only thing I could. "So you chose image over blood." Then I hit send. No emoji, no sarcasm, just truth. And then, very calmly, I opened my laptop, logged into the venue portal, and canceled the reservation. It was under my name, paid with my card, non-refundable. They didn't even know that. I leaned back in the chair and just breathed. I wasn't angry, not yet. I wasn't even sad, just still, like something inside of me had unhooked, stepped back, and was watching from the corner of the room. They've done this before. Not like this, not in full caps, and with a digital slap. But the message had always been there. In the way they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row and blamed the group chat algorithm. In the way Harper became the perfect daughter after I came out. While I was just Silas. Always available, always useful, always not quite enough. I helped choose the linen colors. I paid for their engagement shoot, $750. I negotiated with the florist, built the wedding website, paid the deposit for their mountaintop venue because Mom's credit card had a fraud alert. That deposit? $2,500. From my account, never reimbursed. But none of that mattered once Harper's fiancé, Marcus, decided my energy didn't fit the aesthetic. Because I wore black to brunch. Because I asked, politely, where the $1,900 from the cake budget went. Because I existed outside the mold. They needed me, until I became inconvenient. Until someone decided the curated fairy tale didn't have space for the quiet brother who asked too many questions. So I took a breath. Opened our shared Google Drive folder, Harper plus Marcus wedding. It had everything: vendor schedules, budget spreadsheets, seating charts, invitation templates. I deleted all 67 files I'd uploaded. Then I renamed the folder. Good luck without me. I didn't tell anyone, didn't send a warning. Let them find out the next time they tried to confirm the band or access the rehearsal dinner checklist. They thought I'd take it, smile through it, stay quiet, swallow it like always. But this wasn't just a wedding. This was the final crack in something that had been decaying for years. This was them handing me the scissors and expecting me not to cut the thread. They wanted me gone? Wish granted. They just didn't realize I'd take everything they built, with my time, my money, my heart, with me. And I was only just beginning. I got up to refill my coffee. Phone buzzed, another text. This time from Aunt Melanie. "Hey, I heard you're not invited. Is everything okay?" I didn't respond. Then a second one came, this time from Marcus's sister, someone I'd never even met. "Did you say something to make Harper's fiancé uncomfortable?" My hand shook. I set the cup down. And then, just as I reached to turn off my phone completely, an email popped up. No subject, no sender, just one PDF attachment. I opened it and froze. It was a screenshot of a group chat titled Harper's Bridal Brigade. And right there, under Harper's name, was this message: "Let's keep Silas busy with planning stuff. He always pays without asking, works every time." And below that, another, "Marcus can't stand him. Says he's creepy. Don't worry, he won't be at the wedding." I already talked to Mom. There was no signature. Just a sticky note scanned into the same file. The handwriting was familiar. "You deserve better. K." I didn't know who K was, but I was about to find out. And when I did, everything changed. I stared at that screen like it had slapped me. The group chat screenshots were bad enough. Degrading, calculated, humiliating. But the sticky note? "You deserve better. K. That wrecked me more than the text, because someone out there had seen what was happening. Someone in that tight little bubble of fairy lights, matching bridesmaid robes, and toxic perfection had recognized what they were doing to me and chose not to stay silent. I'd spent years telling myself I was imagining it, that I was too sensitive, that maybe Harper didn't mean it when she made jokes about me never being the man in a relationship, that maybe Dad was just old-fashioned when he refused to introduce me as his son at company barbecues, that maybe Mom wasn't really trying to erase me when she framed family photos and cropped me out again and again. But now I had proof. It wasn't in my head. It was typed in plain text. He always pays without asking, works every time. And I did. I always did. 3 months ago, Harper called crying because Marcus's company cut his hours and they couldn't cover rent. I wired them $3,200 that same night. Last Thanksgiving, Dad forgot to pay the heating bill and blamed the utility company for messing up the autopay. I cleared the $1,100 balance before he even asked. I paid for Harper's bridal shower brunch. I bought the Canva Pro subscription they used to design the invites. I even hand-wrote 87 addresses on envelopes while they watched TV in the next room and told me I had the neatest handwriting for a guy. And when I asked, just once, about getting paid back, Harper laughed. She said, "You're so serious lately. It's not that deep, Silas. It's just family." That's what they always said. Just family. Just a joke. Just kidding. Just a phase. Just don't be dramatic. But I was starting to see it clearly. It was never about love. It was about usefulness. The more I gave, the easier it became for them to justify taking. And when I stopped being convenient, I became disposable. I spent that night combing through every receipt, every Venmo transaction, every text that started with, "Can I ask a small favor?" and ended with me footing the bill. I organized them into a folder on my desktop titled Truth. Not for revenge. Not yet. For clarity. For healing. The next day, while the world spun on like nothing had changed, I called my bank and removed the auto-link between my checking account and the family group PayPal. Then I called the venue again, not just to confirm the cancellation, but to check on something else. I had bought wedding insurance when I booked it, just in case. Turns out the policy covered family disputes. Turns out if you file a claim and explain that you've been financially manipulated by the couple, and you can prove it, you get most of your money back. They refunded 90%. I transferred it straight into a new savings account under a new name. Then I went into the Canva folder and deleted every design I had ever made. Menus, seating charts, welcome signs. I replaced them with one file. It had a single line in the center of the page. Ask Marcus's mom to fix this. Then I shared it with the entire planning group. And I waited. It took 3 hours. At 2:17 p.m., my phone rang. Mom. Her voice was shaking. "What are you doing, Silas? You're ruining everything. This looks awful," I said. "I know. That's why I'm doing it." I hung up. At 2:42 p.m., Dad called. He didn't say hello. He just started yelling. "You've always been jealous of Harper. That's what this is about, isn't it? She gets a good man, a good life, and you can't stand it." I held the phone away from my ear. Then I said calmly, "The difference between Harper and me is that she takes what she wants and lies about it. I give until it bleeds and still get painted as the villain." He kept shouting. I ended the call. I thought that would be it. But that night, something else happened. An Instagram story. Harper. Tear-streaked face. Captioned, "The ones closest to you always cut the deepest." It had a song in the background, something about betrayal. The comments flooded in. People asked if I'd hurt her, if I'd said something violent, if I'd threatened the wedding. And then, a new email, no subject, same anonymous sender, this time with an audio file. I hesitated. Then I hit play. It was Harper's voice, clear as glass. "I told Mom to uninvite him. I don't care what he paid for. I'm done pretending he matters." My hands were shaking. Because suddenly, I realized something. I wasn't the only one who had recordings. The audio file sat there in my inbox for 6 hours before I could bring myself to open it. Not because I was afraid of what I'd hear, but because I already knew. I knew Harper didn't respect me. I knew she used me. I just hadn't heard it spoken out loud. But when I finally clicked play, I wasn't prepared for how calm she sounded. I told Mom to uninvite him. I don't care what he paid for. I'm done pretending he matters. Those words didn't come with a raised voice or a trace of guilt. They came with the smug assurance of someone who knew no one would ever hold her accountable. I sat there in silence, hands clenched so tight I felt my own heartbeat in my palms. Then came another message, a different voice. Marcus. He gives me the creeps, babe. Always hanging around like some sad little puppy. Don't worry, he'll disappear. They always do. They? I didn't know who he meant, and I didn't care. What I knew in that moment was that I had stopped being a person to them a long time ago. I was a resource, a card to swipe, a convenience wrapped in flesh. And the worst part? I let it happen, because I was scared that if I stopped being useful, I'd be nothing at all. That realization hit like a slap in the face. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up documenting everything, every payment, every receipt, every text where I was guilt-tripped, dismissed, or mocked. I organized it into folders, one for finances, one for screenshots, one for audio files. Then I created a backup on an external drive and labeled it in bold red letters. Truth. The next morning, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Kristen. We used to work together before she started her own cybersecurity agency. She was sharp, discreet, and, most importantly, not afraid of drama. I sent her everything. She called me back 30 minutes later. Silas, where did you get these recordings? I explained. The anonymous emails. The note signed with a K. How I had no idea who sent them. She paused. You're going to want to sit down. Turns out, Kristen had traced the audio files back to a WhatsApp backup linked to Harper's old number. They weren't screen recordings. They weren't fakes. They were original source files, raw, unedited, with metadata intact. She verified the file integrity, saved everything with timestamps, and asked, "What do you want to do with this?" I told her I wanted the truth to be undeniable. I didn't want revenge. I wanted exposure. Okay, she said. I'll be at the rehearsal dinner. That's when the plan formed. It wasn't about public humiliation. It was about clarity, letting the lies walk into the light and burn on their own. 3 days later, I showed up at the vineyard. Not as a guest, as a witness. The property was exactly what Harper wanted. Rustic elegance, overpriced wine, string lights like a Pinterest board come to life. Everyone looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. And there I was, walking straight through the crowd with a calm I didn't recognize in myself. I found the table where Harper and Marcus sat, surrounded by friends and family. They weren't expecting me. The music was low. People were laughing. Toasts had just finished. I stood at the head of the table and tapped a glass. Silence fell. Harper's smile faltered. Sorry to interrupt, I said, voice steady. I just need a moment of your time. I pulled a small speaker from my coat, placed it gently on the white tablecloth, held up a flash drive. Marcus stood up fast. What the hell are you doing? I looked at him. Giving you both a wedding gift. I pressed play. Harper's voice filled the vineyard. I told Mom to uninvite him. I don't care what he paid for. I'm done pretending he matters. Gasps. Forks dropped. Someone's drink spilled. I let it play to the end. Then I turned to Kristen, who had quietly stepped up beside me. She raised her phone. All verified, original source files, no edits, metadata intact, pulled from Harper's account. The crowd shifted, murmurs grew. Then, Marcus turned to Harper, eyes wide. You told me he threatened you. You said he was unstable. Harper's mouth opened, but no words came out. You lied to me, he said, about all of it. And then, right there, in front of 80 people, Marcus took off his ring, placed it on the table, and walked away. No shouting, no drama, just silence. And in that silence, for the first time in years, I finally felt like I existed. When Marcus walked away from that table, It was like someone yanked the curtain off a years-long performance. Harper sat frozen, mascara streaking down her cheek like a melting mask. My parents didn't say a word, just stared like they couldn't process the glitch in the perfect family portrait they'd spent so long staging. I didn't stay for the fallout. I turned and walked toward the exit, feeling every eye on my back. But I didn't care. For once, the silence wasn't suffocating. It was mine. Outside, the wind was sharp and cold. I stood at the edge of the parking lot and just breathed. Not deeply, not dramatically, just freely. Kristen followed me out a few minutes later. She handed me the flash drive and said, "That's going to haunt them longer than you think." I nodded. I don't need it anymore. And I didn't. Because the best part of reclaiming power isn't showing them what you have. It's knowing you don't need to prove it anymore. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Back at my apartment, I opened the last file I hadn't shared. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't a text. It was a scanned contract. The deed to a small plot of land my grandfather had left me before he passed. Most of the family didn't know it existed. Harper certainly didn't. But Dad did. And 6 months ago, he tried to co-sign a deal to sell it. Without my consent. He thought I wouldn't notice. The paperwork got flagged because of a mistake in the signature line. I'd kept quiet. Locked the deed with a legal restriction. Let it sit in limbo like a trap someone forgot they walked into. And 3 days after the rehearsal dinner, I got a notification from the county office. Dad had triggered the clause himself. He tried to file a revision again, this time rushing it through with a private buyer. The result? The entire deal collapsed. The buyer walked, and Dad got flagged for suspected fraud. I didn't press charges, didn't post about it, didn't call to gloat. I simply forwarded the flagged documents to the family email chain with one line. When you erase someone long enough, don't act surprised when they become a ghost you can't control. Then I logged out of that account for good. The backlash was immediate. Mom called 5 times in an hour. Harper sent a voice memo sobbing, begging me not to destroy what little we have left. Dad texted, "We can fix this. Just call me." They didn't want healing. They wanted leverage. And I wasn't handing it back. But the real twist? That came a week later. I was walking back from the post office when I saw a car I didn't recognize parked outside my building. A woman stepped out, mid-30s, dark blazer, badge around her neck. "Silas Bryant?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm with a private legal firm hired to investigate a breach involving a manipulated family trust. Your name came up in connection with a transferred asset." I froze. My mind raced. Was this about the land? Then she added, "The complaint was filed by Harper. She claimed you illegally blocked access to family property and damaged her future financial stability." I blinked. Then I laughed. "Tell her," I said. "Next time she wants to come for me, she should probably read the will." The agent tilted her head. I did. She handed me a folder. I opened it. Inside was a scanned letter in my grandfather's handwriting. A legal note. Signed, notarized. "To my grandson Silas, I leave the deed entirely." No co-signers, no transfer clauses, and if any party attempts to manipulate or seize it, they forfeit their share of my estate entirely. My grandfather had seen them coming before I did. He built a firewall years ago. The agent smiled. "I believe this concludes our interaction. You're clean, but your sister? She just started a process she won't be able to walk back." I watched her leave, and that's when it hit me. Harper hadn't just lost a fiancé. She'd just legally cut herself out of the one thing she thought she'd inherit. The money, the land, the family name. All gone. Not because I took it from her, but because, like always, she assumed I didn't matter. Turns out that was her biggest mistake. After that meeting with the legal representative, I went home and sat in the quiet for a long time. Not the kind of quiet that follows a storm. The kind that comes when you decide to stop dancing in someone else's chaos. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. They wanted to control the narrative, paint me as bitter, unstable, jealous. But the facts did the talking. Harper had tried to report me for property obstruction and ended up invalidating her own share of our grandfather's estate. The clause was airtight. The attorney made that very clear. She'd legally forfeited everything, without a single threat, fight, or raised voice from me. Dad? The fraud investigation was real, not because I pressed charges, but because the county caught the error and flagged his second submission. He'd tried to rewrite a deed he never had access to. Mom called the night the news reached them. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "You've made your point, Silas. We get it. Please stop." But it was never about making a point. It was about getting out, escaping a family that only saw me as a tool, until I stopped working the way they liked. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace, and I found it in the only place they never looked, away from them. I signed the final documents the next week, locking the land into a conservation trust, ensuring no one, not Harper, not my father, not any future blood relative, could touch it. It would stay untouched and protected. I didn't even put my name on the marker, just one line engraved in stone. Let silence be your inheritance. Weeks passed, then months. Harper and Marcus never rescheduled the wedding. She deleted her Instagram. My mother stopped sending cards. Dad quietly removed my name from his contacts. I heard through a cousin that Harper tried to explain everything as a misunderstanding, that I was struggling mentally, and they were trying to protect me. But no one really bought it anymore, because truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs time. And mine had finally come. I moved out of the city 2 months later, bought a small fixer-upper 2 states over. I planted herbs in the windowsill, adopted an old cat named Jasper, who likes to sleep on my chest and bite ankles when I cook. I volunteer part-time at a library. No one there knows anything about Harper, or my family, or the wedding that never was. They just know I'm the guy who likes restoring old books and always brings his own mug. One night, while organizing old tax forms, I found the receipt for Harper's wedding deposit, still neatly folded, with my initials on the card used. I smiled. Then I shredded it, not out of spite, out of release, because I didn't need it anymore. That chapter had closed. Not with a scream, not with revenge, with absence, the kind that echoes louder than any confrontation ever could. I didn't just leave their story, I rewrote mine. And now, when people ask if I have siblings, I just say, not anymore, because I don't. Not by law, not by memory, not by choice. I chose me. And for anyone out there still waiting for their apology, their recognition, their closure, maybe you won't get it. Maybe they'll never say the words. But walking away can be the loudest justice of all. And when they finally realize you're not coming back, that silence, that's the sound of your freedom. If you've ever felt like the invisible one, the one they only loved when they needed something, drop a 2 in the comments. You're not alone. And if this story hit something real, don't forget to subscribe for more. We're just getting started.